Hello YouTube, I'm going to give today some tips on a burn deck for Magic the Gathering. Okay, so first off, the way a burn deck works is you keep drawing cards is going to hurt your opponent, so, mana pockets are just, evil and can lead to your downfall. So first, I'm going to show you a different way to shuffle so you don't get mana pockets. Alright. So first you want to do the regular pile shuffle. Which does a pretty good job by itself, but just to make sure you get rid of all those mana pockets, I like to do a combination of different shuffles. You pick up one of the piles and evenly distribute it on the other piles until you only have two piles. This way, it's even more random. After you've done that, you start to weave the decks together. Well, the right way, of course. And this also just gets rid of any kind of mana pocket you may have and evenly distributes it. And then for good measure, just do the overhand shuffle. Because if you keep drawing mana in a burn deck and you don't have any cards in your hand, then you're probably not going to make it. Alright, so some good cards for a burn deck. Well, first of all, a burn deck basically kills the other player before they have a chance to get their defenses up, and does direct player damage so that, it can't be blocked by a creature or anything like that. So, the first card we want to talk about is Shock for obvious reasons. You can play it the first turn of the game, throw down a mountain and shock, and that's, instant 2 health. So it's obvious reason why this should be in this deck. So, another one would be Rakdos Cackler. It is a 1/1/1 cost with Unleash, so a 1 cost 2/2, or you just leave it at 1/1, I guess, but always put it 2/2 just to get that swing in, Goblin Shortcutter. That's also a good card because a target creature can't block this turn. They only have one creature, boom. Another 2 damage. Another good card, Ogre Battle Driver. It itself's a 3/3, but whenever you summon another creature in, it gets +2/+0 in haste. So you got all these low-cost creatures, you just keep laying them down. They all have +2/+0 in haste as long as you have this guy down. So, instant damage right there. This doesn't really fit with a burn deck, but I found that Awaken the Ancient is really, really useful because it only costs 4 mana for a 7/7 giant with haste. So, 4th turn of the game and you pull out one of these and hit with it, that's 7 damage right there. And if you have a shock, it's just game. Annihilating Fire is good for reanimate decks because if it would kill the creature, it does 3 damage to target creature or player, but if it was kill the creature, you have to exile it instead of just going to your graveyard where, it'd just be like reanimate. And it's a 3 cost. But you basically want to keep your mana cost as low as possible for what they do. Another one I found, which, sometimes can be hard to come by, is Chandra. Chandra Power Master, because She does her +1 is does deal 1 damage to target player and 1 damage it up to 1 target creature, and that creature can't block this turn. So it's pretty awesome. And madcap skills. Obviously this would, if you have a Awaken the Ancient, this would be good for this card because it gets +3/+0 and it can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So, you could just be swinging all day, 7s and shocks and, game. Really, you just want to get a bunch of, really, really low cost cards because, the faster you can dish out damage, the faster they're going to die before they can get, high cost monsters out that have like 5/5 and can block your 2/2s. And, you're sort of relying on luck too, but I mean, I don't know, it depends on how many of the card you have. I myself have Splatter Thugs in mind because it's a 3 cost and it has First Strike and Unleash. So, it's a really good card for burn deck. And Chandra's Phoenix for a mono red deck is pretty good because if she dies, you can cast a instant or sorcery, a red one, or you can use your Planeswalker's +1 and she comes back from the graveyard. So, these decks aren't really good for late game, but if you find yourself getting stuck in the late game stage, try to get some low cost buffs. So, you could put some more buffs on your Awaken the Ancient. But if you're dealing like 15 and 16 damage by the 3rd or 4th turn, you're really, really forced to be reckoned with. So, let's see what else. Gutter Snipes are okay for this deck because, since you have all the sorceries, and instant or sorceries in your deck, like Shock, which does damage directly to player, it does an extra 2 damage to each opponent whenever you cast a sorcery or instant. So, if you were to hit him with a Shock with Gutter Snipe down, that's 4 damage, and then plus you can still attack with him. Mugging, that's another one. Mugging it's just for those creatures that are annoying, like, say you're playing a white deck with lifelink, you just want to get rid of it. Or even if you don't kill it, it can't block this turn, so that's pretty useful. Chandra's Outrage I wouldn't really recommend for this deck because it's a 4 cost and it does 4 damage to target creature and 2 to the controller, but it's kind of a high cost and you want to basically just burn them down as quick as possible. I mean, I guess you could use it, but I really wouldn't. I would go for like something else, maybe another instant damage. Oh, creatures with Battalion too, because you have all these creatures down, and the Battalion, sometimes the Battalions are really useful. Like, you get some with lifelink, and you get some like the creature can't block this turn, or some of them will get counters on them. So, I use Mind Sparkers because, once again, whenever an opponent casts a white or blue instant or sorcery, Mind Sparker does 2 damage to that player, and it's a 3/2, so really worth it. Oh, Blur Slivers too, because they have haste, and all other sliver creatures you control have haste, which is not really a sliver deck, but still, it has haste, and it's only a 3 cost, so and all the, let's see. Yeah, Rakdos Shred Freak. It's a 2-cost 2/1 with haste. It's really good for this, but yeah. I would definitely recommend Awaken the Ancient, Shock, just to start out with, but you want to basically build on your instants and your sorceries that deal direct damage to player. You want to get those as low cost as possible and as much damage. This deck it stands up pretty well to mill decks, like, because you don't have one card you're making a play off of. You're using all your cards basically, unless they're just back to back making you discard your whole hand and like half your deck. Then you may be in trouble. But white decks, it's all right for white decks. You just have to catch them early before they can get their pacifisms off on your creature, and a Fiend Slayer Paladin where you can't target that creature with a red or black spell, and they're creatures that have vigilance, so they don't tap whenever they attack. So it's kind of hard to get past that. So the more sorceries and the more low cost creatures you have, the better you're gonna do. So yeah, that's what I recommend to start out with on a deck. So thanks for watching.